Good evening. It is 6 o'clock on March 3rd, 2026, and we will call the Finance Administration Committee meeting to order. I see that myself and Councilmember Holloway are here, and the mayor is just joining us. We are also joined by city attorney and by city administrator, and also finance director. And Councilmember Washington has asked to be excused. So without objection, we'll consider him excused. Okay. Councilmember Washington is excused. We will now take public comment for, this doesn't necessarily say items on or not on the agenda. So we'll now take a public comment for people who are here in the chambers. And seeing no one stepping forward to make public comment, we'll move forward to the minutes. Oh, we didn't do the agenda. Whoops, my apologies.
Move to approve.
Thank you. I actually did have one thing. My apologies for missing that. Okay, so where on number 4 it says timeline. Was that for filling in the upcoming vacancy? Okay, I just want to make sure. All right, then with no objection, we'll consider the agenda approved. And now we will take public comment since I was out of order previously. But still seeing no one stepping forward, we'll consider public comment closed, and now we'll move to the minutes. And I didn't have any comments to make on the minutes.
No comments.
Okay, then seeing none, we can forward those on the onto the council on the consent agenda. That also takes us then to the approval of the warrants and claims. And I didn't receive that I saw any questions or comments from other council members. Do you have any comments or questions?
No, I'm good.
I don't have any either, so we'll consider those also forwarded onto council on the consent agenda. Okay, next up is for discussion. Citizen feedback on immigration enforcement. This is with regard to requests that the public made at one of our recent council meetings. And Mayor, did you want to talk us through this?
Absolutely. So are we putting those up, sir?
Yeah, if we could get that tracker up on the screen, that'd be helpful.
Are we racing, Robert? Yeah. Share.
Do we have, do you have this one as well? This one? Yeah, that should be in there.
What do you want to approve?
That one. It's just a list. All right, so the first thing that we did is give you a list. This is a revised list of what we gave you last time. It's reordered. It's the exact same items, just reordered. And then this grouping is the same as the tracker that we gave you. So these are the same items that were in that summary list. And this indicates where kind of our estimate, administration's estimate is of where we're at on each of those. So whether we're complete or not complete, and where it's not complete, for example, we have somewhere we say partial, we put in some ideas about what might happen next or what we could think about happening next. And so for the items that are partial or not addressed, we're really coming back to council and asking for direction. Do you want anything done on this? If so, what, where would you like to see this go?
Okay, thank you. So I think one way to do this would be to kind of just go down the list, sort of like we did last time, but I think that this time we have a little bit better way of matching what is where than we did last time. I don't unless administration thinks there's something to add to the things that are complete, I think that we could pick up with item number 7. Is that agreeable? Okay. Great. So then item number 7 is under community safety, reduce fear and misinformation. Let's see. Put that there. Yeah. Before any enforcement activity takes place. And the way that this is currently addressed, or the current state says that it's a statement provides reassurance, but there's no ongoing outreach or FAQ yet. And the next step, if we were to take one, would be optional public frequently asked questions or a community session of some sort. So I think that having some sort of an FAQ could be useful for folks who are just curious about what the city's position is, what the policies are, et cetera, and what the actual facts are. I'm curious what kind of staff time that might take to put together.
I think the issue is that we have no idea what that would be. So what we've tried to do is take every question that had to do with city, something that city would do, and that's already in the statements that are out. So this is what the question was or the request that was made to council was to engage proactively. And we weren't sure what would that mean. So we've issued a statement, but what engaging proactively would be, we don't know. That would unlikely be city employees. I think, I don't know what that would mean. Who, what are the topics? What would that engagement look like? We didn't know.
Mhm.
And to be fair, I'm not, they weren't specific in their request to you. They said those words. And so it's kind of unclear what they might like. So for example, we've seen out in the community, there are organizations that are focused on just what communities might do in response to ICE coming into their community. And they give training and guidance and so on. But those are organizations that are focused on that. As a city, we don't focus on that. We focus on what we do as the city. So that's where we didn't really have any idea what that would entail. And until we know what it entails, we don't know what resources it would take, but most likely if it entails something beyond the city, we don't have resources for that.
Right. So one possibility could be if it was known what resources there were for people, then yeah, just the simple list or contact or something.
And we don't have any resources.
Not city resources, but resources that exist in the broader community. So organizations that people could contact, that sort of thing, but not providing the resource itself.
Yeah. So the issue there is, we don't know those organizations.
Right.
We're not in a position to endorse them or pick them.
Mhm.
So I'm kind of reluctant, I was reluctant from an administration perspective to start trying to figure out what those organizations would be, try to guess what people's interests might be. And, our thought is a lot of that information is available publicly. So the question became, well, what value are we adding to just repeat that information? We may, in essence, be in the way if that information is more directly available to folks. So we just weren't sure what value we could add or what you would want us to do.
And I think also the research into these organizations and stuff would also, I'd imagine, take up some staff time as well.
Well, it would.
If it were to be done.
It would.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if we ask our staff to evaluate, to do some research, we're going to have to define research on what? What are the parameters? What do we want looked at? And how do we want them to weed things down? Is it, and it gets into a whole bunch of things that we as the city aren't really, it seems like, in a position to make those decisions.
Well, besides, posting the statements that are already out there, can we look at like Issaquah, Bellevue, Seattle and see what they might have out there? And scrape some of that as information or even refer to it might be an easy way to stand on the shoulders of others and provide information.
That's true, yeah.
So
The wheel may have already been invented.
Well, so we've looked at that.
Okay, thought you guys did.
There are many different wheels. There are round wheels and square wheels and triangular wheels, and they all are doing very different things. And each community is deciding to engage on this topic differently from each other. So you get very different answers, even Issaquah to what we've issued, Issaquah to Bellevue. And remember, some of these other communities have active, ongoing ICE activity. We have not had that in Snoqualmie. So in many cases, those cities are reacting to things that are happening in their city. And so if something's happened in one city, they might react. If it hasn't happened in another city, they are silent on that topic. So it's really a wide range of what's out there. Some cities have chosen to become very chosen to so be more partisan, I guess is what I'm looking to say about their response. We have not been partisan. We've been very neutral in what we've issued so far. We've been very focused on public safety for our residents and stayed away from the partisan aspects of it. Many cities are getting into very partisan points of views, and many cities are having a lot of debate at their city councils and amongst their communities. That doesn't seem to be happening here. So again, it's just, where to go with that. The examples are all over the place.
Well, and peace, you can look at it and say, yes, that we're not how do I phrase that appropriately? We're not an in-scope city. I'll use a neutral term. So that's probably not probably a step too far for us, but let's be aware of it and keep it just in case we become in scope. And then some general information, if appropriate, throw it out there. I mean, you lay enough triangle, square wheels, octagon, you get a wheel once you lay them on top of each other. But you guys can take a look and see what's out there, what's appropriate, what might be held for future events if they occur. But I do agree, I don't want to get into a partisan discussion at the city level. There's just no benefit.
Well, and my perspective was, this is not where our community discussion is right now. It may get there, depends what happens. But so far, that doesn't seem to be the community discussion. So it didn't seem like that would necessarily be helpful. But the request here, and the reason we kind of brought this back to you, is it said engage the community proactively. So it seemed to be a request of don't wait until something happens, tell us something in advance. But we just really weren't sure where to go with that. And so we weren't sure really, so we haven't done that so far, but didn't want that to solely be administration's decision. We want to make sure you guys were okay with that, at least for now. And again, we can revisit this as things change, but I will say, just to be cautious, it's the ICE activity doesn't exclude anywhere. They will go where they believe their mission takes them, and that may be here. So far, it has not been, but that may change. Yeah.
Right.
And understand there are some things that we see, for example, we see on the freeways, okay, not inside the city, we discover abandoned cars, sometimes still running. We don't know what happened. Some people can speculate.
Right.
There have been substantially more in the last few months.
So yeah, so to the point of, it's just this request that we be proactive. We couldn't really see where that would go other than what we've done. So everywhere that we could be proactive, talking about what we do as a city is in the statements we've issued. We've given guidance to our employees. We've issued internal guidance, and then we've done a public release that you've all seen telling the public about what that guidance is. And so we think we've done everything proactive that we can at this point, but just wanted to make sure that we had your guidance that was sufficient for now, or if you wanted something more, then what is it that you want?
Yeah, I'm in the same conundrum you are, but I'm also, there are people out there genuinely scared. We ought to be the voice that says it's okay, or yes, it's happening, but, or just, yes, I don't think we can say, yes, it's happening. Cause that will be start to get partisan. But, yeah, it's an internal debate I'm obviously having right now.
Yeah, and we were too, and that's why we just wanted to come back to you and just, we didn't want to exclude you from that, thought process. We want to make sure that was okay with you, but we've tried to be very proactive in these straightforward messages. If you feel that your safety is at risk, call 911. We will respond. Public safety is our number one priority, and we will ensure public safety. So we've been trying to be very clear. You don't need to, we've been very clear in our statements. You don't need to fear calling us. We don't ask immigration status at any point as we respond to public safety concerns. So, or for that matter, at any point in any of the work that we do with the city at all. So we try to make that really clear. We think we've been as proactive as we can on these, but again, your chance to tell us if you want more.
Yeah, I think the only thing then that we could consider, although perhaps this isn't the lowest hanging fruit, and maybe we circle back to this at some point, would be taking the statements that have been issued and perhaps crafting a sort of an FAQ with some resources fitting together the circles and the squares and the triangles. But it may be that we aren't in a situation where we need to do that yet. And it could be that that becomes more urgent if and when an event occurs.
Right. I think the two statements we've already put out public wise, we should continue to refer to those. Here's
Right.
our current stand.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, just wish we were in a different timeline.
Yes.
Other
Gonna talk
than that-
timeline later. Yeah. Okay. Any other thoughts on item number 7? Okay. Then for item number 8, it says coordination with schools and youth serving partners. This one has not yet been addressed. And it was also not addressed in the statement. And the next step, if any, that was suggested is initiating coordination with district leadership. Now, what is the status of the, there's a name for it, the officer at the
School resource
school
officer?
resource officer? Thank you. Yes.
Yes, well, we provide a school resource officer. That's a member of the Snoqualmie Police Department.
So we have an interface there.
We do.
Yeah.
And that school resource officer is at the schools during the school year, so every day. Every school day, I should say.
Right.
I say every school day, but just to be clear, it's one school resource officer. So on any given day, something may draw them away potentially, but their primary duty where they spend almost all of their time is in schools.
So the district should have some sort of an internal policy of some kind related to this. Most of the school districts around us do. That's guidance to their administrators, their teachers, etc. And I think the only question I would have on this one is just has that been communicated to our officers and stuff that's how they want to do things? Like who's allowed in the building and how to get into the building and those kinds of things. Is that communication?
Into the school building?
Right.
Yeah, the school resource officer works closely with the school district on all matters on the school premises. Yeah.
Yeah. Because other than that, on schools and youth serving partners, I'm just not sure what else there would be to do other than that interface. Go ahead.
Well, that just may be an action to the SRO to,
Mhm.
What is the school's current policy, position, procedures, whatever, in regards to the subject, bring it back for discussion with the rest of the force.
Right. Yeah.
I
It should be
I don't want to
effectively-
get into
Yeah.
help to discussing their policy, procedures, whatever, that's for their decision, whatever, but I
Yep.
think we should be aware.
Yeah, if you're asking us to train our police officers on the school. So I think I'm not sure what making them aware would entail, but I wouldn't want to create any confusion on the guidance that we give them as to what they should do.
Right, but we should, I mean, even if this was, let's call this an unnatural disaster, but even in the case of a natural disaster, we should know what the school procedures are, wherever, so we can appropriately help them.
Like
Okay,
what,
so
what their
same thing.
evacuation procedure is.
Yeah, just what your procedure is, and we can couch it to say, this is the school's procedure, not our procedure, but we should be aware of it.
We can do that.
Even like active shooter, we should know what the school procedure is for active shooter.
Okay, so you're probably getting way beyond the scope of this then.
Yeah, but I'm not asking for.
I think it's by
anything
analogy.
Other than have a discussion, bring that information back for awareness. That's all.
I think perhaps were you referring to like by analogy, that there are these other things that happen and police should be aware of how they handle those things. This is kind of like that,
Right.
by analogy. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not equating ICE actions to active shooter.
Right. Yeah, it's merely an analogy.
Don't follow the analogy, but if what you're asking us is to do is, so I think I hear you asking us to let our police officers know what the school district's ICE-related policies are?
Statements, if they have policies or if they have procedures, just what they are.
Okay,
So in case of issue, no, we're in alignment.
Because if they have one set of policies and procedures and our officer has something that's totally different because they never talk to each other, that seems to me like that could create an issue.
are you asking us to assess the school district's
No, no.
policies?
Awareness only.
Awareness only. Yes,
School district policies are school district policies.
that's right. Totally agree.
Got it.
Okay.
Uh,
Any other thoughts on that one?
no, I think we did.
All right, next one is number 9, the policy, we're switching now to policy and preparedness items. There is the advanced ICE-related policies and procedures. Let me just get the little caption on that. Let's see. So that would be. Is this the same one that means developed and adopt clear policies and procedures in advance? Okay, the phrasing sounds,
Yeah, we should try
The
to
opposite,
put
yeah.
it into a small box. Sorry about that.
yeah, no, okay, that makes sense now. For how the city will respond if ICE activity occurs. What we've got is existing law and policy that is described, but we have no new procedures that have been adopted, and there's a possibility that there is a policy gap that may need to be reviewed. Is that the idea?
Well, I don't know. That's the request that you received
Mhm.
didn't acknowledge that we had any existing. It literally asked you to develop and adopt policies and procedures. So the question is, what we've done so far is look at the policies and procedures we do have. We did issue some personnel policies to make clear what staff were expected to do if they encounter ICE at city properties. So that, I suppose, is a clear policy and procedure that we've now put in place that wasn't there before. But beyond that, we haven't looked to develop any further. And the question would be, I don't know what further
Right.
they were looking for. They didn't specify.
Yeah.
But we didn't see
I agree.
anything more that we thought at this point was needed,
Mhm.
other than we thought it was good. It was necessary to give more clear procedural guidance and be clear about our policy with staff, which we did and which was already included in the second release that we did. So the public's aware of that as well.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any specific policies that would need to be addressed. I'd always encourage, and this is just kind of like a blanket for all of these, if there's additional clarifying points that any member of the public wants to make, you're welcome to come back and tell us, either here at FNA or at a council meeting. or at Public Safety Committee, et cetera, to give us more feedback.
They
if
can
we- if
even
we met
send
the-
us an email.
Yeah, we can send us an email. Exactly. Okay, then I don't have anything else to add on that one, do you?
No, not this time.
Okay. That takes us to number 10. We are moving through these, which is the proactive review of city preparedness, which is noted as not having been addressed at least directly. There is no formal review that has been committed, so I'd assume that this is as in like a review of what is our preparedness as a whole. And then the next step could be to conduct some sort of internal review. And just looking at the note here, yeah, so nothing new additional there. Okay, so this could be incredibly sweeping across just about every department potentially, or this could be something that's very narrowly focused. So yeah, this is a big net. Mayor, did you want to share how you were interpreting this?
Well, yeah, it seemed to be asking for city preparedness, and I couldn't figure out what that was referring to. So our police officers are prepared to do police activities. Like I just wasn't sure what it was. I don't know what we would review,
Right, like what would be different perhaps from reviewing our policies and procedures?
which we do all the time.
Right.
You know, we review training. The police officers at the beginning of every shift go over things. So, it wasn't clear what this preparedness review would be reviewing.
Hypothetically, there could be the idea of having, well, when I think of preparedness in general, oftentimes I think of things like a natural disaster, like a flood. Are we prepared in terms of the physical resources that we need and the personnel, et cetera? So I think that part of the preparedness is being taken up by some of the organizations that we've talked about before. It's just a question of connecting people when it does happen. So I think that kind of goes back to item number 7 a little bit in terms of what resources are available to people. There are that information is public, but we have not, as a city, compiled that into one place in terms of what organizations exist, et cetera. So it's something that could happen, just
Yeah,
not
not exactly
necessarily
sure
right
what the
now,
parameters would be.
as we talked about before.
The other possibility is that number 10 merely meant that the requester merely was saying, just review things. So for example, when we reviewed things to get ready for that, and the things that we reviewed resulted in that internal guidance to staff, we realized, hey, we really haven't told staff what to do if they encounter ICE officers. So we issued that guidance.
Right.
It may have meant, this request may have been just to do what we have in fact done. Just wasn't sure. I think it would be reasonable for us to conclude, no, that's the review that we did that resulted in, the specific thing that resulted in was the internal guidance to staff, but also what was laid out in the second release of all of the things beyond just what the police do. So it may have been just that they meant just do that review. In that case, we've done it. I just wasn't sure that that was the right interpretation. I wanted to see if you wanted something more.
I think that sounds reasonable. I think if it were broader, it could encompass some of those other things we've already talked about earlier tonight.
Well, I think it sounds reasonable. I'm also concerned, at a certain stage, depending how that conversation goes, it may be more appropriate for executive session than open forum. If actions could be viewed as in conflict with whoever.
Hmm.
I'll leave it at that because I don't want to talk anymore about it.
So then I guess the question is, are you satisfied that
Yeah.
we've done what we need to do
For the
at this
time
point?
being. Okay.
I think for 11 and 12, we basically have some state guidance on that, don't we?
We issued
Yes.
internal guidance on it.
Okay.
But some cities, I believe, have been looking into specific policies, maybe even at the ordinance level with regard to use of city facilities. And looking at 11 and 12, since they're certainly related, 11 says ensure Snoqualmie is not unintentionally used as a staging or processing or operational base for federal civil immigration enforcement consistent with state law and judicial warrant requirements. So that would be that Snoqualmie as a whole is not being used that way versus number 12, which is how city property facilities or resources could be misused. I think that it's possible that we could have more control over 12 than 11. Which is about city property itself. And both do say not addressed, and as such, I would assume that no guidance has been given along those lines by the administration to staff. Is that correct?
The guidance, which is in our second release, instructs all staff to seek guidance before allowing access to any city facility, to ICE officers, to seek guidance from their supervisors. So that request would end up with city administrator and me. And
City Attorney, it looked like you were about to say something.
I think going back to Councilmember Holloway's point, depending on where we're going, we might want to consider an executive session for this, but there are some cities that have been addressing this by resolution
Okay,
from the council.
so not necessarily by ordinance.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm aware of resolutions. I'm not aware of ordinances.
Okay. Yeah, I think that that could be something that, in my opinion, might be appropriate for review at council as a whole to talk about if that's something that we want to do, and if so, following city attorney's guidance going into executive session.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be real reluctant for not executive session discussion on that.
But given that this is something that has not been addressed yet, this is a request that seems fairly specific to me, more specific than some of the others, and I think perhaps a little bit easier to interpret. I think that it would warrant us forwarding this on to those items, maybe together onto council. Again, with executive session.
Yes, I think there's opportunity for legal advice there.
Yeah.
So executive session would be good.
Great. Then ready for item number 13. Oh, that one's complete.
13
Never mind.
complete.
Yep, we're good. Okay, on to 14. Staff guidance, contingency planning for ICE-related scenarios. This one also says not addressed. There are no scenarios, no scenario planning referenced. So the next step, if any, would be a tabletop or a checklist. This one also sounds like one that might be something that would want to be discussed in executive session. As I'm interpreting this with regard to
I think
staging and stuff.
There's executive session to discuss what's appropriate and what's inappropriate under that heading.
Right.
Public discussion of once you determine what is appropriate, okay. Having that tabletop discussion or at least procedural discussion about what to do could be public, but that's yet to be determined.
Mayor, do you have any thoughts on that?
just obviously we'll need to be, when we will, be very careful that the executive session covers legal topics only,
Yeah.
not policy matters.
That's right. Yep. Okay, next. Okay, next is number 15.
Sorry, so what was your
Yeah.
disposition of number 14?
Oh, my opinion was that that one sounded kind of similar to the last two, that perhaps that should be something that the council would discuss in executive session in terms of getting some legal guidance of what we can and can't do, et cetera. All right. Number 15, community training and know your rights education. This was also not addressed so far. And that could look like partnering with nonprofits as appropriate. This could be something where there are a number of organizations locally that do these kinds of things on their own, not necessarily advocating for any of those specific trainings, of course, but I know that those exist. I am curious what the city's involvement would look like in something like that. Mayor, do you have any?
Yeah, well, we
Thoughts on
don't
that?
have any staff that is assigned these kind of duties, and nor do we have staff. I mean, as you know, the only department I can think of is very understaffed right now and doesn't have bandwidth for something like this. But beyond that, you know, this is an area where I think we have to be very careful to focus on what is legal and appropriate for us as a city to do. And, you know, training on what you're going to do may look, one's view of what that training should look like may depend on your partisan politics. And that would be an area I would not be in favor of the city getting involved in or doing anything that could be perceived as getting involved in partisan politics. I don't think that's helpful to the city or its residents. I think those organizations exist, and they're out there providing that training. I'm not sure what value add the city could be here. And I'd be very cautious about endorsing any particular partisan point of view.
The only other thing that I would mention on this is in terms of knowing your rights and things, there is Citizens Academy that doesn't necessarily have to be updated specifically to reflect this, but there are just general things that people can learn about in Citizens Academy. So I'd encourage anyone to do that. Any other thoughts on this item?
Plenty, but nothing coming through the mouth. Go ahead.
You
There's a
know,
lot of
perhaps-
thought in all these, yeah.
Perhaps one thing to think about is
Mhm.
if it's true, which I believe it is, that this kind of training is widely available and widely advertised, and that folks can find a training that fits their point of view and their concerns and addresses their needs. I'm not sure the city can add a lot of value here or is needed to. Remember that just in these last few weeks, this sort of information, what's available to folks, what sort of trainings out there has vastly increased. And so I'm not sure the city necessarily is needed in helping folks in this regard, but so yeah, worried about, we don't really have staffing. We don't want to get involved in the partisan angle of this. And I'm just not sure there's a lot of value that the community needs from us in just getting hooked up to training.
I'm in agreement.
Yeah, I mean, if Greenpeace or the National Rifle Association were to hold a convention up at the hotel up here, pick your political persuasion there, I'm not sure we, the city, would have any place of going in other than to say, yes, you have the right, freedom of speech to voice your concerns on either one of those issues. But I don't think we need to go in
Right.
and this is where you cross the line or this is where you don't cross. These are the things you can do and you shouldn't do. And I'm reluctant to go there because somebody will misinterpret a can do and get in trouble.
I'd agree.
So what we've done is focus so far on what we will do, what the city will do,
Yeah.
and how we will respond to public safety concerns in our community. And I think staying very focused there so that residents know what they can expect from us and know what they don't need to worry about, if you will, with us. For example, if they're worried about immigration status, to know that we will not ask that. So being very clear about what we will and won't do, I think, is the way we can provide the most reassurance to the community that we're there to help them when they need help.
And also, I believe that the administration has been putting out information in terms of some of those high-level things. So yeah, not much more to add to that. Okay, on to the last one.
The community can participate in poly development at any time. It is public information. they see something they don't like or they like, they can email the council, email the mayor, email staff, or come in and doing public comment. Other than, public policy is not done by a crowd. It's done by the elected officials based on the feedback. We are representative democracy. That's how it works. So I'm okay. You know, policy, everything is out there. Go look at it. If something you don't like, tell us.
Yep, and then the more specific, the more actionable it is. Whether we take the action or not is a different
Absolutely.
question, but yeah, the more specific, the more actionable it
Nor
is.
do I think I want a staff member on YouTube or in here reading our code from beginning to end for active public consumption. You see how much public we have here tonight. So I mean, it's pretty much it gets actuated by the public actually taking that step of looking at, oh, what does the city do for this? And go do that investigation and then say, you could do it better. Let me fire an email or come talk to you. Although I'm always one that says we need more public engagement. I just don't know how to do that one in that manner.
So for what it's worth, I have been going to every community meeting in the Upper Valley related to ICE and people's concerns about ICE that I can find. So I think certainly I've represented the city. We're there, we're present, we're listening, I answer questions. So I think there's a visible outreach that's happening, and I think that's reassuring to folks. And I will continue in that process. I will continue that process, and I will continue in that process to emphasize that if people have specific concerns, please bring them to the council. But yeah, I think in terms of outreach, we absolutely, as a city, are doing that.
The only other thing I would add then is that the city of Issaquah did hold a town hall a while back. They, of course, have had this kind of activity within the city of Issaquah. We haven't had that yet. And if and when it occurs here, perhaps that's something that we could circle back to, but not something that is necessary at this time.
Agreed.
Okay, yes.
Right, so Chair, I think what the takeaway here is you'd like to have a executive session added to the upcoming council meeting to talk about the legal parameters around a few specific aspects, 3 of these items.
Yep.
And we'll be prepared to do that for you.
Yep. And then number 7, perhaps keep on the back burner for now and circle back to it if we feel like the time arises. Yep. All right. Any other questions or thoughts on, sorry, going back to the agenda here, on the citizen feedback on immigration?
None verbal at this stage.
Fair enough. Okay, that takes us to item number 4, which is the timeline for our city council vacancy that will be coming up very shortly, as council member Christensen will be leaving us. So Mayor, is this something you would also like to guide us through?
Yeah, so we've got something here up on the screen. We can slightly update this because we were guessing what the timeline would be. And so that some of the dates are just slightly off. The question really is how quickly you want to try and push this process. So, and then the other big question is how many applicants will you get? So we'll kind of walk through this with you. And then the idea is just to give you an example timeline. And then you can decide, do you want to compress it more, stretch it out more? How much of this do you want to do in special meetings? How much of this do you want to do on regular council meetings and so on? So let's see. So Shall we start at the top there?
Let's start today.
Yeah, well, yeah. So when we first started this, we kind of, were some number of days ago because we were aware that this would be announced imminently. And so we started thinking about a timeline for you. So here we are on 3/3, talking about timeline. So 3/15, it's actually the last date in office will be March 16th, not March 15th. So every day after that, is just shifts by one day. That guy, yes. So the 90-day clock starts on the 17th.
And what clock is that?
So under state law, the city has 90 days to appoint a replacement. And the process for doing that is laid out in state law. If the city fails to do so within 90 days, then it no longer has the right to appoint that person. That shifts to the county council, who then instead makes the appointment for us. And for what it's worth, some cities, some not too far away from us, have gotten balled up in this and actually let, well, they ended up in a 3-3 split, and so they ended up letting the county council make the decision. So that does sometimes happen. My sense is that you all are looking at a shorter time frame than 90
Yeah,
days.
that's a not to exceed.
Yeah, I think that's your point of view. I think you're concerned about things like your council retreat and other things where you'd like to have full. So my suspicion is that you're going to be inclined towards a shorter time frame. But so we'll just take you through kind of this example that we gave you. So
Can I just ask one more question then?
Of course.
Trying to think about election years. So the next municipal election would be next year. So this position, we aren't in a rush to get this done by filing week for this.
no,
year.
that's correct.
Yeah.
The next election. So this position will then have to go up for election at the next municipal election, which is
That's
odd
odd.
years. Yeah,
Right.
so that'll be filing week will be May of over a year from now.
Right. Not saying that I want to hold it off forever, just saying that that's not a limit for us if we wanted to get that done by that time.
Right.
Okay, go ahead, Mayor.
All right. So it's 90-day clock starts on 3/17. So so we're just reviewing the timeline for you now. Then the idea might be that we bring back, if you know, a more specific process if you want us to in 2 weeks. On the other hand, again, that can move more quickly if you just give us direction. It's a question of how much how much process you want to have on reviewing the steps versus just give you something and you move on. So we put in the idea that there might be another cycle that you wanted to look at the process here. And then, well, I could read this to you, but perhaps what we could do is scroll through it and you could ask us questions about different dates or different items that are on there. Nope.
Move the calendar here. Okay, there's the talk about of the election.
Yeah, but that's really,
Okay, so according to this timeline, the idea would be to complete the voting, get that person selected on May 11th, according to this timeline.
so how long do you
It
have?
could be done as soon as the 27th, but if you need that extra day, we have it programmed.
Okay, so
Can-
the
can we
27th would
back
be
up?
that, okay.
No, up.
Oh, sorry, wrong up.
Go up a little further. Well,
So maybe I could just sort of summarize kind of these key dates here that kind of how this shakes out. So the first question is, how long do you want to take just getting this timeline decided upon and the key dates? This assumes that you want to take some time with that and you don't decide.
not
Say
that
again?
much.
He answered, it was that much.
Yeah, so this allows you to take all the way till the 23rd, the council meeting on the 23rd to approve a selection process. If you wanted to move more quickly and bring it to the council meeting next week, we could try to do that. Then once we have that, we've allowed for a week for staff to sort of put everything together. If you wanted us to move more quickly, we could start doing that, simultaneously. So that could be squeezed if you would like. So the next key date then would be if the 23rd is when you decide on the process and the timeline, then we post on the 30th. So that's a week later, post the availability, and then leave 2 weeks for folks to put in their applications. You might want longer time, or you might be happy with 2 weeks, or you might want less time. So that the next sort of key thing is the April 13th date, which is 2 weeks after the announcement and opening of applications. Then we've got about a week and a half built in to kind of review applications, double check addresses, make sure they're eligible, things like that. If you wanted us to squeeze that down more quickly, then you would need to let us know to do that. That leads to the next key date being the 23rd, when we'd mail out the applications. We're suggesting that we redact some of the information. That would be up to you if you want us to or not. Then there would be a time period of a few days for council to review the applications, and then leading to the 27th, April 27th, at that council meeting, either with an early start or regular start, start your oral interviews of the candidates. Then leading on to May 11th for voting or additional nominations, looking at additional nominations. So again, it's just how many council meetings you want to allow for before you make your decision. By the way, depending on how many candidates you have, you may want some candidates to come back for a second interview. So that's another thing. By giving you several meetings here, it would allow that to happen. So it's just a question of how much time and how much process you want to give yourself room for.
Well, we don't know how many candidates we'll get. We could get 3 or we could get 15 or something. And some of this, I wonder, is it possible to change things if we get that outcome? Or once we have a timeline, are we kind of stuck to it?
It's possible. It's just a question of,
Right.
when you change things, we'll have set up administrative process to support you. And then, for us to try and move that
Right.
in the moment may be difficult. Folks
Give a
may not
longer
be
runway,
Yeah.
pull it back.
What's that now?
So start with a longer runway, but then pull it back if we can. That's something
It's harder for us to, if you want us to squeeze it down, it would be better for us to know now, because we need to start figuring out how to staff that and how to assign tasks and make that happen. The longer the runway, the less pressure we have from a support perspective.
One of my thoughts is if we just look at the big chunk that kind of has the process for how much time for the interviews and that sort of thing. I kind of wonder if we could get this off the council tonight.
We, yeah, I just haven't. Can you go to the top? I gotta run myself down from the bottom.
Shall we start at 3/3 for you? Which is today?
Okay, and that first two can have, well, first one happens, second one can happen when you guys are ready.
It happened.
Already happened.
Already happened, all right. So so this is where I glitch up. And forgive me. Isn't it really, we notify, one, there ought to be some discussion of what questions do we want the applicants to fill on their application? And we have reference material of past selections we've done. We can pull all that together and consolidate that down. And okay, let's just shoot for next, and may potentially have that for next FNA. Okay, from there, that can, so right after the next FNA, that can go out with the solicitation for applications. From there, there's a potential for a process of reviewing the applications and narrowing the field down if we get way too many applications. But we may or may not need that. From there, there's an interview process. After the interview process, there's probably an executive session to at least discuss the candidates, and then a council meeting to select candidate. Is that what that says? It seems more complicated than that.
Well, it says that, but then it just allows for the idea that, well, you may not get through all your interviews in one council meeting. And so this is a timeline that assumes you don't want to have special meetings. Therefore, if you don't get through it, then it's 2 weeks later. So we just don't know what assumptions you wanted us to build in. This assumes that everything happens with existing council meetings and committee meetings and just gives time for you to have
That,
more than one evening
that
for
kind of, I put
interviews.
that filter in. I mean, if we were to get 100 applicants, there's an application review to narrow that down to a reasonable chunk for us to do in the remaining time available.
But
But
understand
even
that,
then, even if we were to schedule 3 different meetings and decide it was going to be a 4th meeting, there's nothing that says, once you publish this, you need to, the only hard date in this is you got 90 days.
90 days, and then once you decide on the application period.
Right.
The closing date for
Right,
that.
closing
would be
day of the
hard.
application.
Yeah,
The rest of it is flexible.
that's correct.
Okay, so I'm just, what is a reasonable short time to get the seat filled is all I'm after. To do that. All right.
Yeah, and so as you think about your other council priorities, by the way, if you get a lot of applications, understand that only the council can go through and weed down those.
Right.
If you give us absolutely objective criteria, we might be able to do it, but you're not going to be able to do that. So.
So rock on.
So therefore, this whole process is really something that council members have to do. We can support you, but all those sorts of decisions have to be made by you.
Yeah, the only criteria we could give you, if they're not a citizen within the boundaries of Snoqualmie, they're excluded, but
We will weed those out for you.
Yeah,
It's
those-
already in the process. We will weed those out for you.
other than that, I don't know why.
Authorized to do that.
I don't. It's an interesting question. Never mind. Back in my head.
So yeah, so that, that's the idea, is if you could give us a sense of, so as you think about your other council priorities that I'm aware of are your council retreat. And so you have, I know, at least to some degree, had some thoughts, or at least some of you have, about when that might be. So if you want this council member to be on board, then you have to look at the end date of this and start to say, okay, how does that impact?
Well, that was why I was wondering if we could get this off to the council at our next council meeting. Because I don't see anything glaringly wrong with this other than perhaps bumping it up a little bit as such. Then that could shave off a bit of time. That would be, what,
That's
2 or 3
2
weeks?
weeks.
Yeah.
But it means you would go with this. I mean, we'll correct the dates because we
Right.
now know that there's one day off. We can fix that. But beyond that, you'd be going with this and then trying to engage in a discussion based on that.
It's kind of what I'm thinking, because I don't see anything that's glaringly off to me. And then when we get into some of the details on 427 as it presently is, which is kind of the interview meeting where we could go into executive session, we could come out and select someone, but we don't have to. We can figure out what those questions are in that intervening month of time. we don't have to have those selected before we go with this timeline. Is that correct? Mayor?
Other than if your application, you'll have to decide what questions you want them to answer in their application.
And the application is, according to this timeline, intended to go out on which date?
March 30th.
March 30th. Right. And so then a more compressed timeline that would have been on the 16th, which I don't think is really going to save us much, because I don't think that we could also figure out what those questions are before our next council meeting to agree upon. So perhaps those 2 weeks aren't really much of a savings, since we have to talk about that anyway. Any other thoughts?
Other than, like I said, I just want us most efficiently and expeditiously get through this and get the seat filled. So I don't want added steps or whatever, but I need to sit down and roll through this in my head. I can't. I'm too old to do it on the fly.
If I could just say, I'm sorry that we didn't get this out to you when the agenda packet went out before the announcement was made, so we didn't have time to get in the agenda packet.
I figured that was the case. Okay, then seeing that
And we
we
didn't
wouldn't
want
have much of a saving in the end anyway, we could just bring this back at the next F&A and then on to council.
yeah, we didn't want to telegraph the announcement that was the council members to make
Right,
by putting this in the
Yeah.
in the agenda packet.
that too. All right, fair enough. Any other thoughts on this? Okay. Then that takes us to the flood event update, which states that there is no change, but the administration is welcome to share any information that they wish.
There is no change.
Okay,
We have committed to update you on this every 2 weeks at your meetings, and we will.
actually, there is a thing. There is tomorrow night, the town hall, which will be still at Mount Si, right?
Absolutely, and we're hoping that
7?
you'll all attend.
I think it's 7.
7 o'clock.
Yes, tomorrow night, 6 p.m.
6 p.m. Okay.
Well, wait, hold on. That's what's on my calendar. I might be getting there early. Sorry, 7 p.m. for the
7
public.
p.m., okay.
Yes. Mount Si High School, North Commons. And I've got a program that's it'll be about an hour. There'll be another half hour of things, folks can talk to some of our directors if they would like to, but the program itself is right about an hour.
Excellent.
And it is mostly soliciting feedback from the community.
Any questions?
No, other than Karen and I had discussion with Tribe this morning. And told them about it and said if any of their tribal, would they get the word out on their side? Any of the tribal members experience issues? Some of them were islanded during the flood, so they may want to come hear what's going on, provide some feedback. So hopefully we garner some additional participation.
Thanks. Okay, then the last item for discussion is agenda bill protocol. And I believe this has to do with who reads in agenda bills, et cetera. But Mayor, I'll let you.
Yeah, so in just the interest of time, this is straightforward. And if you want to push this off, this is not urgent at all. But the topic is the way we currently have agenda bills go in council meetings is the agenda bill is brought up. We ask the chair of the committee from which that agenda bill came to read the introduction and the motion. And just wanted to bring up, if you would like, since the chair doesn't write that introduction, it'd be fine with us if you would like the administration to read the introduction, so the council members only being asked to make a motion. So it's really just what you're comfortable with. It's certainly something administration could do. There's no reason the committee chair legally or procedurally has to read that in. It's really a question of how you would like that process to go. Just wanted to bring that offer to you. Especially since administration writes it. If you'd like to say, okay, you wrote it, you read it, we're fine with that. So it's up to you.
I personally, I prefer the committee chair to read it. It at least gets them, it may be hindsight later, to actually read it during committee and provide some feedback that says, wow, there's a lot of big words there I don't want to say. Can we simplify it out?
Okay. I don't personally feel strongly on the matter one way or the other. I see pros and cons both ways in that, who wrote it is going to be more familiar with the text and will be more likely to orate it more efficiently. But at the
But
same
the
time,
committee and the committee chair should own it.
yes,
You
I'm
own
gonna
it,
say,
you talk it.
I
That's
was gonna say, yeah.
my, why I'm the way I am that way.
Mayor, yeah.
So if I could, my recommendation then is if that's the decision you're make is let's make clear to committee chairs that they can change those words. I think not all of them realize that. So maybe we could just share it. And if you'd like me to just do that informally, or if you would like to, Mayor Pro Tem, that'd be fine. Maybe just make sure they know you can change that thing you're going to have to read if you don't like how it's written.
Well,
That's four of us. I don't know if I can do it.
well, we may make discussion in council or statement in council, but in collaboration with,
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, the point is that the administration will support them if they want, when they go through it in committee, if they want, hey, could you change those words to blah, just let's
Right.
make clear to them, yes, you can make that request and we'll do that.
I'm good with that.
Would you like that then just brought up, like, say, during the
discussion.
discussion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Any other thoughts on that? Seeing none, that takes us to the last item on our agenda, which is the city council agenda review. And we will start at 7. We do not currently have a roundtable scheduled with the call to order and roll call, followed by pledge of allegiance and agenda approval. Then we'll have public hearings, presentations, proclamations, and appointments. There is the State Auditor's Office exit conference for fiscal year 2024. In the past, we have done that as a roundtable, but we also haven't necessarily always needed all of that time. So it seems like this could be something that could be done as a presentation in our regular council meeting. Any thoughts on that?
Okay.
Okay. Mayor.
Yeah, so you're aware the state auditor's office will come and attend and make that presentation. The materials, I think, have already been distributed to council members. And then, it seemed like the agenda was not so heavy that you needed to have that as a roundtable, so we put it here. Obviously, it's your choice.
All right, let's continue on as is. That takes us to public comments and requests for items not on the agenda. Then the consent agenda with the approval of the minutes and the approval of the claims reported or report dated March 9th, 2026. Oh, and those are the minutes dated February 23rd, 2026. And then from us, we do not have anything else for consent agenda that we are forwarding on. Correct. Anything from other committees that you know of?
Nothing.
City Attorney?
Oh, I was a little premature.
Okay.
but-
Excellent. Okay, then we have the second reading of the ordinance 1316, adding chapter 10.13 automated traffic safety cameras to the Snoqualmie Municipal Code. And that one does have a motion since it is a second reading. And that can't be consent anyway because it's an ordinance. For committee reports, we have the fourth quarter accreditation report under public safety. That's informational only. And for community development, they did not meet this week, neither did Parks and Public Works. Anything that is known from those committees?
Nothing.
Needs to come forward. Okay. Then there's F and A, and we did have some discussion about a few things tonight. The first being the citizen feedback, but I believe that everything we're going to talk about there was intended to be executive session, so nothing really there to talk about.
So,
Yeah, go
so
ahead,
would you like
Mayor.
that executive session, I'm guessing added at the end? After reports and before adjournment?
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, before adjournment.
Yes, it would be hard to do it after adjournment.
yes.
Did I say it wrong?
Yeah.
Sorry, evidently I said it wrong. I gotta. figure
Oh,
out what
I
said.
heard it right, but okay. Okay, before adjournment.
You
and
heard it the
we'll-
way I heard it.
Okay.
Yeah, you started pointing at, wait, no, no.
Can't do that.
Okay, then the timeline, we're gonna hold off to the next F and A before forwarding on to council. Flood update date is, yes.
So we ought to put a discussion under FNA regarding agenda bill wordsmithing.
Yeah.
Put appropriate words there.
Yeah.
You could wordsmith
Add
my
that.
comments. But that the committees have the ability
Yeah.
to revise in collaboration with staff, the introductory wordage and stuff on the agenda bill.
Yep, that was the next thing.
Okay.
So there we go. Okay, yeah, and then that would be, yeah, I think that's F and A. We do not have anything yet under committee of the whole. At some point, we'll start talking retreats, but not yet. Then we have the reports, mayor's report and commission and liaison reports. Anything else under reports? I think so. Okay. Then before adjournment, we'll have the executive session as we just discussed, followed by adjournment. Anything else?
Catch Jim and then I have a
Yes.
thought.
Mayor.
Just to clarify what you'd like to have in the agenda packet, there's the, this document, the consolidated requests.
Yes.
Would you like that document in the agenda packet? I assume that's all you want in there and you'll talk about the particular items that you wish to discuss.
I think the tracker also.
You want the tracker in there as well?
I think so. I thought it was useful.
Okay.
And
All right, we'll have both those in the, under, well, we'll have both of them in the agenda packet.
yeah, anything else?
No, it was just,
Yes.
as we went through the secondary thought. Once we do that, if we need to, that first narrowing down to potential candidates for interview. At that stage, I think we can have the retreat. They're more than welcome to come and participate in the retreat, even as a candidate for the spot, and have opportunity for interaction with the council prior to interview.
Let's talk about
That
that
may
maybe.
help move that retreat a little to the left.
Mayor.
Yeah, if I could, that was just exactly the sort of thinking I thought you might like to sort of engage in what, where does this, how does that impact? So yeah, we weren't trying to, we're just trying to prompt you to think about how you thought that could work.
Excellent. Yeah, let's talk about that also at the next F and A meeting when
Okay.
we do a little bit deeper dive into the schedule of events anyway. Okay. Anything else for the agenda for March 9th?
It's good.
All right, then we are at the end of our agenda. There being no more business before the committee, we are adjourned at 7:14.